to our Monday Minute. Today, we have reached that time of year that we must discuss the self-reporting of your hospice aggregate cap. The aggregate cap must be self-reported no later than February 28th of 2025, which will be for the fiscal year ending September 30th of 2024. Also keep in mind that the reports that you utilize to self-report must be downloaded from the system no sooner than 3 months following the end of that fiscal year. So no sooner than December 30th, 31st. Those reports will then be utilized to complete the reporting of the aggregate cap. Each of your Medicare Max, Palmetto GBA, CGS, and NGS, each of them have specific formats on their websites that you can utilize to report your aggregate cap, and they have specific instructions as to how you should complete it. The calculation includes the counting of beneficiaries, unique beneficiaries that you have treated during that fiscal year, and then the calculation of the cap limit that is for that year, which was just over $34,000, and that then utilized to determine if you received Medicare payments in excess of your cap calculation, then you are going to owe money back and should be paying it back at the time of the self-reporting. There are options such as asking for an extended repayment plan, especially if the amount is excessive. So many of the questions surround this $34,000 limit. Is it per patient, per year, per lifetime? What is it? And it actually is per patient, but it is per lifetime. So if you had a patient on hospice services for a period of 2 years, for example, then that $30,000+ would be split in half for each of those years. So you would only be able to count that patient as half of the beneficiary in each of the years that you had them on service. And so you've already self-reported the first year, right? And so you're in the second year of this patient. You had them for the full year. When you're completing your self-reported cap, you will calculate them as half a beneficiary. Also, when Medicare is auditing your self-reporting of the aggregate cap, they will reopen the prior year's report and give you credit for half of the beneficiary in the previous year. You also need to understand that this is whether they were with you the first year or with another hospice the first year. If with another hospice the first year, they'll reopen that hospice's report from the first year and recalculate based on the new calculation of beneficiaries. This is how hospices wind up in a situation where they are paid more than their cap calculation when they have an extensive number of long-term patients. So if you had 10 patients where 8 of those patients were greater than a year on service and 2 of them were only on service approximately 6 months, just throwing out a number, then obviously you're going to run into cap issues if you only had those 10 patients, because you're not going to have that full $34,000+ credited to you for those patients that had been on service in prior years. And so you have to learn to adjust long-term patients versus short-term patients. Obviously, we're going to have long-term patients. Some of them, we may not believe that they're going to be long-term when we admit them, but it winds up being that way. But again, the reality is we're going to have to offset that with short-term patients in order for the situation to work out so that we're not hit by the cap. I've been in hospice for greater than 25 years, and it has been a bit unsettling seeing how many hospices have been hit by the cap in the last few years that I know about. So how many there is overall is probably unimaginable. The reality is the long-term patients offset by the short-term patients. And if you have a lot of long-term patients, the question probably needs to become, did they truly meet the hospice eligibility criteria when they were admitted? So back to the topic at hand, self-reporting of the CAP. Make sure you check out your Medicare Max website to find the forms that they would prefer that you report with, and make sure that it is officially filed and received by the Medicare Max by February 28th. Without that occurring, you run the risk of your payments being held. They will stop issuing payments for your claims when it is determined that they have not received your self-reported CAP. Thank you so much for listening today, and if Healthcare Provider Solutions can ever assist with any of your hospice needs, please don't hesitate to let us know. Have a fabulous week.